In the Appalachians, a group of friends step off trail and are confronted by something sinister in the forest. A family is tormented by a witch in their very own home, and a solo camper is stalked by something that whistles in the night. This evening, we're exploring a region shrouded in mystery and cryptic lore. I'm Angie, your favorite maid in the dark. I've swept up the remains, so please enjoy. The silence was the first thing that went wrong. Not something dramatic, not thunder or screams, just silence. Thick, total, unnatural silence. We were 3 days into a 5-day hike, deep, into the Appalachian Trail, further than most folks bother going. Miles away from roads, from cell towers, from anything with an off switch. That was the whole point, really, to disconnect, breathe pine sweet air, let the static of city life drain from our bones, refresh. There were 4 of us. Leo, my older brother, the one with a laminated map for every step and backup gear for the backup gear. Ben, his best friend since college, all barrel chest and big laugh, the kind of guy who made everything feel lighter just by being there. Sarah was with us too, my girlfriend. Calm, sharp, grounded. She was the quiet pulse that kept us steady. And me? I was just trying to keep up. I didn't know much about the backcountry, but I trusted the people I was with. The day started perfectly. Morning sun bleeding through the canopy, Ben cracking jokes about his pack being filled with lead, Sarah pointing out tiny mushrooms like some forest docent, Leo barking out corrections on foot placement and compass bearings. We were striving ahead, soaking in our surroundings. That is, until the birds stopped. I didn't notice at first. It's weird how the absence of something can take longer to register than its presence. But eventually, we all felt it. The rustle of wind, gone. Insects, gone. It was as if the forest had drawn in a breath and forgot how to exhale. Leo was the first to stop walking. He lifted his hand and whispered, "Do you hear that?" Ben, still smiling, said way too loud, "That's the point, dude. There's nothing to hear." Sarah tried to wave it off. Probably just a quiet patch, microclimate or something. But her eyes were scanning the woods, like they expected to see something watching. Leo frowned at the map. "We should be near a stream. It's on every topographical layer. We should hear it." We didn't. No water, no anything. So we made a decision, a small one at first. "We'll just cut down this slope," Leo said. "The stream should be right below us. We'll reconnect with the trail after." That was the first compromise. The trail is safety. It's structure. It's known. Cutting off from it, even for just a bit, that's how the wilderness swallows people. But we followed Leo. He was our compass. He was the trail. The slope was steeper than it looked, all loose shale and clawing roots. The deeper we went, the thicker the trees got. Gnarled things, knotty and old, closing in around us like ribs forming a cage. The sun vanished behind them. The air changed. Cooler, damper, thick with a smell I couldn't name. Earth and something sweeter. rotten sweet, like fruit left to die in a sealed box. Then we saw the path. Not a deer trail. No, this thing was intentional. Wide, clean, no leaves, no debris. Like something or someone kept it tidy. It cut through the forest with purpose. It looked old. Older than the main trail. Older than us. Leo's eyes lit up. This isn't on any of the maps. Could it be a forgotten route? An old native trail? Logging road, maybe? Ben didn't even have to hide his unease. Nope. No way. I don't like this place, man. It feels wrong. This will lead to water, Leo said. All paths do. I looked at Sarah. She shook her head. Barely. But we were already off course. And the idea of climbing back up that hill? No thanks. So we followed the path. The wrong path. And the silence followed us. Or maybe we followed it. It pressed in, so thick it felt like cotton stuffed into our ears. Only the crunch of our boots and our breathing reminded me I wasn't trapped in some silent nightmare. The trees changed again, twisted hemlocks now, draped in moss that hung like wet shrouds. The light turned green, sickly and cold. Then we found the clearing, and in its center stood a sycamore tree, huge, ancient, bark peeling off in long white strips like shedding skin. Hanging from its lowest branch was a thing, a bundle of sticks and feathers, animal bones and sinew, dangling like some terrible charm. It spun slowly in the air that wasn't moving. Ben whispered, "What the hell is that?" Leo stepped closer. Some kind of folk art. Or ritual marker, maybe? He stopped. His phone screen was dead. Black. Like it had overheated. Except it hadn't. It was fine moments ago. So was Ben's. Mine. Sarah's. Every device we had. Drained. Silent black. Sarah was the first to say what we were all thinking. We need to leave now. We all nodded, turned and started back. Or at least tried to. We walked fast. Too fast. Watching for that steep hill, looking for any sign of the trail. Instead, we found the sycamore again. Same bundle, still spinning. We had walked in a perfect loop. We tried again. Marked trees, changed direction, different angles. But each time, the same sycamore and the same clearing. The sun dipped behind the ridge. Twilight smothered us. Shadows lengthened, but the air never cooled. Just pressed in, thick and heavy. "We'll camp here," Leo said, his voice small. "Start fresh with light." We didn't argue. What else could we do? As Ben gathered firewood, he called out, "Guys, over here!" At the base of a mossy rock was a pile of stones layered like a little house. And within them, a leather-bound journal, water-warped. Leo opened it, pages covered in tight, frantic writing. The first date, 3 years ago. A man named Alex. A hiker. Alone. The entry started normal, then spiraled. "I can't find the trail. I see a thing in the trees. I heard my mother's voice last night, but it wasn't her. It's observing me, learning. On another page, in more frantic scribblings, I saw it. Too tall, skin like bark, no eyes. It mimicked my voice. It doesn't need to eat. It just likes to keep things. Leo closed the book. No one spoke. We made a fire. Well, more like a bonfire. Huge and hot. But it didn't feel like it was pushing anything back. Just highlighting the blackness pressing around us. Then, crunch. A footstep just beyond the light. Leo stood, holding a burning branch. Ben had his axe. "Hello?" Leo called. Silence. Then, from one of the trees, Leo's voice replied, "Hello?" Identical tone, but empty. Curious. Wrong. Ben went pale. Then Sarah's voice echoed from the dark. "Come out here. I'm scared." Only it wasn't her. It used all of us. My voice, Ben's, Sarah's. It played us. It learned, studied, mocked. We stayed close, huddled by the fire. None of us slept. And in the morning, we saw him. Slumped at the base of the sycamore, a man, clothes eaten by moss, skin pale, mushrooms growing from his empty eye sockets. Alex. He had been there the whole time. We ran, blind, directionless, desperate, just away. 2 days later, Sarah found it, carved into a birch, a stick figure, long limbs, smooth head, no eyes. It wasn't chasing us anymore. Yet we felt off, marked. We eventually found a ranger, half dead, hypothermic, and starving. We mumbled some nonsense about animal tracks. He nodded, gave us water, never asked for details. We didn't tell him the truth. No one would have believed it. We're home now, but we're not free. Leo hasn't spoken, not once. Ben flinches at his own reflection. Sarah sleeps with the lights on. And me? Last night I went to take out the trash. The alley behind the apartment was quiet, too quiet. From the shadow between two dumpsters, I heard it. That sound, that low, grinding chitter, like stone rubbing bone. The journal was wrong. It doesn't just keep things. Sometimes it likes to let them run. You ever hear a story that crawls under your skin and makes a nest there? Something that doesn't let go, no matter how much light you shine on it. Well, let me tell you one that's done that just to me. And I ain't talking about no campfire fable or ghost tale for giggles. No, this one's different. This one's real. Too real. It takes us back through time, to the shadow-draped hollows of the early 19th century Tennessee, a land that hadn't forgotten the wild in its bones. Royal Tennessee, they called it then. Robertson County. Just rolling hills, thick woods, and secrets tucked deep beneath the soil. And it was there, nestled in the stillness, that the Bell family carved out their piece of the American dream. Now John Bell, a stern but respectable farmer, settled there in 1804 with his wife Lucy and their 9 children. A big family, full of laughter, work, and the sound of plows breaking new land. For more than a decade, life was ordinary, predictable, a good sort of quiet. But then, something changed. It started in the summer of 1817. Just a knock at first, gentle, rhythmic, like knuckles tapping on the walls at night. Harmless enough, right? Could have been a branch in the wind or some critter rustling around outside. That's what they told themselves anyway. But then came the scratching, long, slow claws across the windows, as if someone out there wanted in. Night after night, it grew bolder, louder, angrier. And suddenly, those simple sounds couldn't be ignored. You don't forget the sound of something trying to claw its way through your home, like the walls themselves were no barrier at all. Now John Bell, John Sr., he was the first to see it. He'd been walking through his cornfield on a hot, sticky afternoon when the world around him seemed to still. The wind stopped, the crows vanished, and then it stepped into view. If you can call it stepping. A creature, a horror. A beast shaped like dog, but its head was that of a rabbit. Its eyes weren't right. They were too human, and yet not human at all. Hungry and hollow, like something that had never known love or light. John raised his musket, fired point blank, but the thing, it just vanished. Not a twitch, not a whimper. Gone. Just the sharp echo of the shot across the fields, and the stink of the sulfur hanging in the air like a curse. That night, the knocking came back with a vengeance, and it never left. His children began to see things too. Young Betsy, just 12, she cried for hours after seeing a girl in a green dress swinging from the oak tree outside. Only this girl. Her neck was twisted, her head tilted all the way around, grinning a smile that should never have existed. And Drury, one of the boys, swore a bird as big as a man landed atop the barn. Eyes like burning coal. It watched him. Then the house itself turned hostile. Furniture rattled, chains scraped along the floor, dragged by something no eye could see. The blankets were yanked from their beds at night, exposing them to a cold that didn't come from any draft. And always the voices. First, they were whispers, just hissing behind the walls. But then a name formed, deep and guttural, not like a human voice. No, it rose from someplace lower. I am Kate. Old John Bell froze when he heard that name. Kate Batts, a local woman who'd once accused him of cheating her in a land deal. She'd sworn a curse on him right there in public. Said she would haunt him, torment him, and destroy him. but she'd died years before. Was this her? Or something wearing her name like a mask? We still don't know. But what we do know is that this Kate knew things. Terrible things. Secrets the family had never spoken aloud. She mocked them, threatened them, and above all, she hated John. She swore she would kill him, and she nearly did the rest of them first, just to make him suffer. Poor Betsy took the worst of it. That little girl was thrown, pinched, struck. She would wake up with bruises shaped like hands, fingers wrapped around her wrist. Her hair would be pulled so violently it bled. She would be flung across the room like a rag doll. All the while, that voice laughed, cackled, and told her she would never know peace. "I'll ride your bones till you're hollow," it hissed. That child's eyes, once so bright, went dull. She stopped smiling. She stopped sleeping. Neighbors came to help, brave, God-fearing folks. But the witch turned on them too, twisting their stomachs with invisible knives, throwing objects with inhuman force, screaming curses in the dark until they fled, pale as ghosts. And through it all, John Bell withered. His tongue swelled, choking his speech. His muscles spasmed, locked up. His face twisted into a rictus of agony. All while the witch whispered over and over, "I'll take your life, John Bell. I'll dance on your grave." And she did. On December 20th, 1820, after 3 relentless years, John was found dead in his bed, passed in his sleep peacefully, they said. But beside him was a vial, a black liquid, foul-smelling, poison. The family said the witch fed it to him. And the state of Tennessee? They recorded it as the only death in the U.S. officially attributed to the supernatural. Even Andrew Jackson came to investigate. Yes, that Jackson. He and his men made camp near the Bell property, determined to root out the hoax. But the wagon wheels froze solid as they neared. A screech tore through the air. Not wind, not animal. Something else. "I'd rather fight the entire British Army," Jackson reportedly said, "than spend another night here." He left before sunrise. But the witch wasn't done. She stayed on, tormenting Betsy, until suddenly, in 1821, she announced she would leave, but promised to return in 7 years. And return she did. In 1828, she came back briefly. It shook the beds, whispered horrors to Lucy, then vanished again. But the thing about the Bell Witch is, she never truly left. In 1935, folks reported odd happenings again. Lights in the woods, screams without bodies. The Bell Witch Cave, still there near the old homestead, draws thrill seekers, fools, and truth hunters to this day. A cave that breeds, that watches, hungers. In 1986, 2 reporters spent the night inside, David Gerard and Bill Wilson. Brave, skeptical men. They left after just a few hours, driven out by a scream that rang through the darkness. A sound no human throat could make. It wasn't the wind, Gerard said. It wasn't metal. It was vocal, loud, like the earth itself cried out. Was it imagination? Or was it her? Some say it was a ghost, some a demon, Others think Betsy's trauma created a poltergeist. But science can't explain the sulfur smell, the dozens, hundreds who saw, heard, and felt her. And so, her legend lives on. The Bell family is long gone, but her cave remains. Her voice lingers. The trees whisper, and the wind knocks. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is still and the dark presses in close, I swear I hear it too. A soft scratch, a faint knock, and the promise, cold as the grave, that the tale of the Bell Witch is far, far from over. I grew up in a place so small you could drive through it with one blink too many and never even realize it'd been there. Southern Missouri. Flatland folks call it the middle of nowhere, and they're not wrong. Just a handful of rust-bitten stop signs, gravel roads that bleed into the forest, and fields so wide they make you feel like the sky was leaning in on you. I spent most of my 20s trying to forget about it. Moved to St. Louis, got a job that didn't care about how much you could lift or whether your boots were steel-toed. I told myself I was never going back. Not unless someone died. And then, last October, someone did. My Uncle Randall. He passed, quietly in his sleep, they said. The funeral was just as quiet. A brick church that smelled like lemon oil, hymnals, and dust that hadn't been disturbed in decades. The whole thing felt too small, suffocating. I stood outside the church afterward, hands shoved into my coat pockets, watching the sun-sliced shadows between the cars. And I felt this pressure, like something had lodged beneath my ribs. Not quite pain, but tightness, familiar. Grief maybe, but not just that, it was older. Something I had carried since I was a kid. And right then, I knew I wasn't ready to go home. Not to my mum's guest room. Not to casseroles and condolences. That afternoon, I packed a rucksack. Nothing dramatic, just a tarp, sleeping bag, some protein bags, and my old hunting knife. The same one I got when I was 17. My initials still scratched into the handle, shaky and shallow. I filled my thermos with leftover gas station coffee and drove out toward a place folks only ever talked about after a few drinks, Jasper Bend. Back in the 1800s, they say a group of loggers vanished out there. Some blamed a rock slide. Others whispered it was something worse. Something that didn't leave behind rocks or blood. Just absence. You'd hear the stories of the VFW, wild ones. Nobody ever agreed on what really happened. All I knew was that nobody went there. The trail wasn't maintained. If you hiked out there far, you went alone. And that, I think, was the point. By the time I reached the gravel shoulder, the sun was bleeding low behind the ridge. A rusted-out gate hung sideways on one hinge, and the wooden sign beside it was so weather-worn the letters were barely grooves in the grain. I sat there for a long moment, engine idling, thinking about turning around. But the silence out there, thick, untouched, it felt like it was the only honest thing I'd felt in weeks. So I killed the engine, locked the truck, and started down the trail. Trail's generous. It was barely a crease in the brush. just a ribbon of dirt half buried beneath fallen branches and brambles that clawed at my sleeves. The ground dipped in places, sudden gullies, carved by years of rainfall. I slipped once, caught myself in a soft, spongy root, and when I looked up, there it was, the ridge. A wall of bare branches reaching like bones into the sky. Right then, it hit me how easy it would be to vanish out here. One misstep, one bad turn, and you'd be gone. No one would ever really know what happened. Maybe that's why I kept going. About a mile in, I crossed what must have been a fence line. Just rotting boards half swallowed by the earth. Beyond that, a clearing, no bigger than a kitchen, circled by stones, maybe the remains of a foundation, and in the center a crooked little sapling growing from a shallow pit. I didn't go near it, didn't like how it looked. I stepped wide around it without thinking, like my body knew something before I did. The light was almost gone when I reached the river, if you could call it that. The water was so low, it looked like a vein of wet stone cutting through the dirt. I found a spot beneath a bluff, dry enough, flat enough. Set my pack down, and then that's when I saw them. Footprints. Not mine. Coming toward my spot. Narrow, almost delicate. Some too far apart, like the person or thing that made them was leaping. Or just didn't move like people do. I stared at them until my throat dried out. Told myself they were old, weeks old, maybe months. Didn't matter. I stayed. I built a fire, opened a paperback I'd brought, but read the same page 3 times without absorbing a word. That's when I heard it. A whistle. 2 notes. Too clean. I froze. Waited. It came again. The same 2 notes. Same pause. Like whoever made it was listening. Not calling, but listening. I called out. Hello? My voice felt like it didn't belong to me. No answer. Eventually the fire burned low. I didn't hear the whistle again, but the silence afterward felt worse. Like the trees were holding their breath, not even a huff of wind to rustle their leaves. I crawled into my tent, left the zipper partway open, laid there, knife across my chest, shoulders stiff, jaw aching. I didn't sleep. But eventually, I must have dozed, because I woke. Heart pounding, ears straining, crunch. Leaves, one step at a time. Careful, deliberate footsteps, about 10 feet away. I held still. Then, a touch. Something, or someone, pressed a finger against the outside of the tent, right above my knee. Just tracing, slow and curious. It moved again, slower this time, feeling the shape of my leg like it didn't understand what it was touching. I clenched my jaw until I felt something pop in my ear, ringing. Eventually the pressure lifted, the sound of the steps moving on, fading further away into silence. I waited for the sun, didn't move, dared to even blink. When light finally slid over the ridge, I crawled out with shaking hands, eyes scanning. No tracks, no prints, not even broken branches, nothing. I tore down camp like there was a natural disaster imminent. The pack was half unzipped, top dangling, straps dragging like guts. I didn't care. Didn't pause to eat, didn't drink, just walked, fast, hard, head down, my shoulders burning. And then I saw it, my truck through the trees. I nearly collapsed, heaved a breath as if I hadn't breathed that entire time. I stumbled into the clearing and stopped cold. Something was propped against the driver's door. A strip of bark, pale, curled at the edges, and carved into it a shape. Long legs, oval head, no arms, just a blank, faceless silhouette. It hadn't followed me. It'd gone ahead. It knew where I was going, and it wanted me to know that I was seen, that I was marked. I left Jasper Bend that day, but I haven't truly left it behind. Sometimes, when I lie awake at night and the street outside is too quiet, I catch myself listening. And sometimes, I hear it. Just 2 notes. Thank you for staying in the dark with me. There's plenty more where that came from. For more scary stories, please consider subscribing and viewing more content here on my channel. Until next time.